were able to get here, and we're very happy to be here. I'd like to welcome you to this year's LifeNet. I'm going to call it a ceremony in a way, and I think it's just fitting to have you here, and it's the opportunities is really great, and it meets a lot of the needs out there in this society that we live in today. And I'm going to just
for coming and for lending your support, not only for LifeNets, but also for this event, and most importantly for your generous contributions and donations for helping us to support the needs of the orphans as well as their support system in their community.
So at this time, I want to introduce Ms. JoAnn Hawker, who's going to do a couple solos for us. Ms. Hawker, please.
Sing for a while, the start of the day. As I lay my game down, observe the people, talk with the people for a change. So I said, hey, it's your time now. Take your time now and fly away. It's your time to shine, so make use of your mind. Get out and make a change. So clear the way. And now we are stronger than
we have our second soloist here this afternoon, Mr. Ron Grant, who's going to perform Ordinary People for us. Thank you.
God chooses people who will give their all. No matter how small your all may seem to you, because little becomes much when you place it in the Master. Uses people like me and you that is willing to do as He commands. He uses people who will give their all. No matter how small your all may seem to be, because little becomes much as we place it in the Master's hand.
We kind of adopted that as a theme song, I believe, maybe a couple years ago, and an excellent job done on it. Really appreciate it, Mr. Grant. Now, at this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Barbara Walls.
I would like to share a little bit of my experience with the Kubiks, how I came to know them, and that kind of thing. Over the years, as I have gotten older, I've sincerely come to appreciate how God meshes the events of our lives. I learned many years ago about LifeNets from JoAnn. She and her children were distributing wheelchairs. And I've got to admit, wheelchairs really did not excite me, but I bought into her excitement. And because of that, I started to contribute to LifeNets. And what changed my life is when I saw a picture of this child here. Face was flush, face was nice and fleshy, arms were nice and fleshy, and she didn't seem to be in need. But there was something about the child's eyes that really did haunt me, because I saw so much pain in that child's eyes that still bother me today. But as a result of that, like most Americans, I just gave more money to LifeNets. Didn't want to do anything, didn't think that I had an obligation to do any more than that. You know how Americans are, we give money. Many, many months after seeing this child, it was put into my heart to give a tea for LifeNets. Some of the ladies are here who attended the tea. And it was a lovely, God-honoring event, and it was really very nice. But it took more time and money and energy than I ever thought that it would. So I didn't really want to do another tea for LifeNets. I thought one was enough. I've done my duty. I've given money. I've given time. So let me go and enjoy my retirement. But let me tell you what God shared with me. The mornings are my quiet time. Before this traffic, before the kids get ready for school, before people walking down the lane, spend some quiet time with God, and it's a very precious time for me. And let me read from the program from the second team. As I quietly sat one morning, thanking God for His gracious mercies to me, He ever so clearly let me understand that giving these charity events, teas or brunches, was never about me, but they are about the 200 needy children we serve. God has a way of humbling you without ever touching you. And I walked away from that quiet time with God feeling very humbled and very small, and really very selfish, because we are very rich in this country. Gave the second tea, and it was okay. But I did ask for a year off from the tea, and I was sharing with Mrs. Kubik earlier. I said, God, I don't want to lose the momentum of the teas and giving the charity events. But I said, I'm going to need someone to pick up the ball and do this. And I said, I'm sure that what I'm asking is right up there with parting the Red Sea, because nobody is going to do this. But once I felt comfortable that I could take a year off, I started sharing that, no, I'm not going to do another charity event. I'm not going to do another charity tea. And as God would have it, JoAnn stepped up and said, oh, I'll do this for you. And that's why we have the Sunday brunch. And I'm very, very grateful to JoAnn. She has no idea how much she helped me, and I'm very grateful. Let me kind of wrap up by saying I've learned two things from these years of giving charity teas or charity events. One, I've learned that we are a blessing, well, we are blessed to be a blessing. We live in a tremendously, tremendously rich country where people spend $3, $4 on a cup of coffee, and somebody could feed their family a day for that cup of coffee. I've also learned that we're God's hands in this earth realm. And why I have come to admire and respect the Kubiks is that they have been doing this for over a decade. It's not a knee-jerk reaction to something. They started on an informal basis, but then became a formal organization in 1999. One, I respect them because they've been doing it over time. I respect them because of the respect they show to the people they help. Again, Americans have a funny relationship with money. If we have the money, we generally tell you what to do. What they did last year after we had funded the program, they sent Dr. Chilapora to the chief of the village to say, we have extra money. How can we help you? I was blown away by that kind of respect. The chief of the village, who happens to be a woman, said, we would like goats. And we have some sima. What I think I sent it to most of you here. I asked Mrs. Kubik for some sima. She said, well, I don't know if I can get it for you, but got enough, so I sent sima with every thank you note from the tea. It's supposed to be kind of like a grits, but to me it's like argo starch? Terrible stuff. Terrible. But what happened was, as I said, he sent Dr. Chilapora to the chief of the village, and the chief said, we would like some goats so we can have milk to go with our
today
seed.
because is it 2 years ago now that you wanted to do the goat program? Or just a year ago? Year ago, maybe. Last year. Okay. And so we had a lot of contributions because we now have milk through the goats and so on. So it really helps a lot as far as their nourishment and so on. And they built a communal holding, like a corral for the goats and so on. And we did get the goats, as you see in the pictures, and I just talked with Dr. Chilapore now because I wanted to have some update for all of you. They have one problem they're running into, and that is that they're having babies now. The goats are having babies, but they're losing a lot of the babies. So he told me he was going to go and find out what they need to get as far as vaccination or whatever it is, because they're for some reason they're not all surviving. I mean, some have survived, yes, but he said they're losing too many. So he's going to look into that. So some of the funds raised here today, we will definitely make sure goes so that they can provide what's needed. Now, we do find with each thing that we do that there's another little thing that accompanies it each time. So, but that's all right. The program is very successful. It's made a huge difference in their lives. Another thing that they bought, because there was some extra after the goats, there was still some money left, and things that had come in after the tea last year, money that had come in, and I told him to use it where it was needed. And there were two areas that he said had need. One was for fertilizer so that they can raise more food, and the other was for bed nets, which are the mosquito nets, because the children get malaria probably twice a month, and it's not fun to have malaria.
And be a part of this event and give you a better idea of what we're trying to do in terms of our service and support to the orphans, and they're doing a great job. And I don't know if I ever told some of you the story how I got involved. I actually got involved in the wheelchair program because I was looking for an organization for my kids to do volunteer work. And they needed to find out that, they needed to learn how to look out of themselves and do something for someone else. And every single organization I contacted kept telling me they were too young. And they were probably around 11, 12 at the time. They kept saying they're too young. And I really think that God was kind of leading me to LifeNets, because someone in the church actually told me about LifeNets. She says, well, why don't you call, this organization? I was like, well, LifeNets, I've never heard of that. And so I remember calling Mr. Kubik back in 2001 and want to find something for my kids to be involved in so they'll stop thinking about themselves. And he brought up the wheelchair program. And I was like, wow, this is great. So we actually got involved. And to give you an idea of how small the world is, we ended up, I remember Mr. Kubik telling me that someone had given a contribution to benefit someone that was affected by 9/11. And he had asked me if I knew someone, because I'm, of course, here in New York. And at the time, I really didn't know anyone. And I think it took me about 2 months to actually find someone. And it was accidental. I kept asking around at the job indirectly. No one knew anyone. And I finally, one day I was picking my kids up at their music school back in 2001, and I would be very friendly with the janitor there. Whenever I would go, we would chat. So I said, let me ask him, do you know anybody that was affected by 9/11? And he said, yes, my sister. And I said, wow. And his sister ended up being related to a church member. And the member actually discovered that her cousin benefited from LifeNets because she happened to see my son's picture in the magazine. And she says, oh, who's this? I know this kid. And she reads the article and she sees her cousin's picture. And she informed me, when I saw her a few Sabbaths later. So it's amazing how God works. But I was...
Thank you, Joey.